to take on different format. Instead of just how can I get on and get off as quickly as possible, it's actually like, hey man, it's like catching up with a friend. It's like having a coffee and chat or a walk and talk, those kinds of things. That has been a fascinating shift because now we're getting into an interesting place where the new trend, I think, in the digitization of things is we have to start building in human empathy, human connectivity, and connectivity with each other to be able to advance this forward. So that's a big observation for myself over the last couple of weeks.
That's great. I think mine this week's going to build on that. Let me show a quick graphic here. Let me hit this. Okay, so this is the Kubler-Ross grief cycle. This is from scicom.net, so credit where credit is due. It's from an article on their website from 2016. I've had this hypothesis that as an entire global society, we've been going through these 5 stages of grief. And what I'm noticing is that the funny thing is that we're not everybody's through all of them. Okay, many people are still very much in anger. I experience it quite regularly out in my explorations through virtual spaces. There are people out there that are really upset, but a lot of people have moved on, and they're moving through this sort of this stinks and worse to accepting where we are. And a good friend and colleague of mine this morning, Lily, she said it's moving to action. Right? Activation, not just acceptance, right? Acceptance is somewhat passive. People are actually moving. And one of the places that I've seen this manifest in the digital world is a return of people having proper speaking engagements. I mean, proper speaking. A person calls you from a speaking agency or directly, and they want to book you, and they say, "What are your rates?" And it's normal. It's like it was before. Now numbers are a little different now, right? Because people have grappling with pricing. And my carry on to that is, listen, what's in a person's mind, the things they've spent their lifetime learning, are just as valuable delivered over Zoom as they are delivered from a stage. Now, there are differences, I get that, but remember that it's actually a huge benefit now that we can be in. I can give a talk in 10 countries in one day. I could have never done that from an airplane. So it's awesome. I think we've moved through some of these stages, and we are, as a society, and I literally mean that from a global scale, as a society, we're adapting. We are probably evolving in a way.
I love that. And it's interesting, just the connection between the two, looking at the cycle, being able to map different organizations that we're working with, or different groups of people, or even different events that we've been parts of, is where each of them are at and what the topics of keynote discussions are, right? Hey, Ken? Because it's interesting that there's some which are like, okay, how do I start to activate on the new future? That's very interesting. Then there's others which are like, how do I actually provide more emotional support, or like the bargaining, which is like, it's resilience, it's determination as a topic, or it's acceptance, even acceptance as a topic. So I love that curve, and I love for anybody watching here is think about where you are at on that. Think about the environment that you're around. And what's interesting is that if you notice the stages that are coming next, how could you, if you are a little more solid in your state, if you're a little more solid in your body and your mind right now during these times, how can you actually be there for somebody else? Because that's a very interesting model to catch where people are at. You could really be a good role model. You could be a good support system, knowing that people are going to get to the point where they need support in order for them to start activating, as you said, Kent.
You know what? I have to do just a quick reaction before we move on to main topic today.
Yeah.
I was on Facebook. Most of us have Facebook. And a friend of mine posted, I won't give names or links or anything like that, but a friend of mine posted and said they were having a challenge with a particular aspect of all this quarantine, global pandemic. And I wanted to sort of say, it's okay, everything will be okay, pat them on the back. But I decided to do something different. And I said, I don't know the specifics of your situation, but here's what I'm doing. And I listed 3 primary things that I'm literally working on, I'm doing every day, that I actually believe are going to make things a little better, a little better, a little better. And for me, it's about doing stuff, sharing stuff. That's why we're here. I'm here on this show. And I got a wonderful response to that. not by telling them what to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
But by telling them what I'm doing for my challenges, my world. And a few people wrote back and gave me really nice thanks and said that it was inspirational. And I think we can all aspire to be inspirational at times. And so that was a nice thing, to see that on a medium that frankly is currently known for not being a particularly nice place to be.
Right.
That's an observation maybe for next week, is what's going on in social media. I'll hold my tongue on that one for today.
Well, we're gonna touch on a little bit with our topic today, right? So we like, it's a good gateway. It's a good gateway. Do you want to tee us up, Kent? A big topic for today.
Oh, okay. So we're not going to shy away from this one. We have been. So everybody's come online. I mean, collectively speaking, statistically speaking, everybody's online. And many people who never would have imagined that they would become a content creator, a YouTuber, a Zoomer. Zoomer? Is that a thing?
I think so.
It's not boomer, Zoomer. So, and of course the next meme will be, okay, Zoomer. But the idea here is, I know, right? Did I just say that? But
I think you did. Trademarked here. You heard it on Digitized first.
Oh God! But the thing is that we're experiencing something new. So we're putting ourselves out in these channels. Kyle, we're live streaming on Twitter, on Facebook, and on YouTube right now. Everybody's getting the same content that we're creating, but at a moment's notice, YouTube could go, I don't like that. Or actually, YouTube's algorithm could say, I don't like that. And click, and we're done. If this is part of our livelihood, what do we do? If they've just cut our income stream. And as people are making the jump, they're digitizing themselves, they're becoming content creators, they're succeeding. They're hitting a brick wall many times. And the more controversial the content, the more brick walls you hit. Mm-hmm. What do you think?
Yeah, I think the concept of censorship is going to be one of the biggest topics that's going to just start to affect everybody. The same way that a topic like equality is now pretty much in almost everybody's vocabulary, whether they agree or don't agree with whatever's being said around that. We have to raise up to create more equality. The other topic is transparency. And now what's interesting is that censorship and transparency, I would imagine, can't really live in the same space. Because if you're being transparent about why you're doing anything, you would start to expose extreme censorship. I think one of the things that's starting to happen right now is there's certain narratives that are being supported and there's certain narratives that are not. And I think that I'm seeing it across everything. Before it was like, okay, there's extreme topics. Like if you think about COVID as a topic, some people believe it's a conspiracy, some believe it's very real. Regardless, it is a pandemic that has affected the world. Now, for somebody like myself, I'm a pretty open person. I'm open-minded. I like to have a spectrum of different thoughts. I like to be challenged with different perspectives of thinking. I like to question things. I like to ask why. I want to go in and not just assume that this is the truth. I want to go and dig into that. Now, what's interesting, when you go do that, you're going to get a spectrum of information. You're going to want to try find a variety of informations. What I've noticed over the last while is that, especially over the last few weeks, is that influencers I enjoy following, certain news, news platforms that I like looking at, not just the mainstream news, alternative news media too. As soon as they touch on a topic and they go very, very pointed towards their opinion on a topic that is a little off from maybe a general main media topic, they've actually been posting now pretty diligently that, and talking about this diligently, that they've noticed that their ratings drop, tracking drops, viewership drops, that they don't get the same traction. If they speak kind of generalistically, where they don't have an opinion this or that, like we will make space to speak about the two sides of an extreme, that generally goes forward. But what I've also noticed is that on certain topics that I want to click into even deeper, an actual censorship page comes up. This content has been fact-checked by all these organizations, and you actually see the fact-checking titles come up. and it says false, 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 false. So if you click through to it, just know that what you're watching by certain groups has been deemed as this is not true, although it's in public forum, which is very interesting because now, regardless of whether you like it or not, it's quite hard to then look at that content with an objective opinion because there's been certain, it's like, well, you can look at this, but just know this thing about what you're about to watch. That's a form of censorship versus just it's been pulled down, it's been cut off, or it's been, I forget what the term is. It's like shadow tracking, which is that they pull the ratings down a bit so it doesn't get exposed to things. I'm very intrigued about where this is going to go and how, as you said, Ken, for those that want to create content, for those that have realized that they've got the confidence to step out and actually start to put their opinions, their thoughts, their creativity, their art out into the world, what's the future of that going to be for us? Because it seems to be being filtered towards a particular type of topic or a particular type of point of view, and if you don't follow that point of view, you don't really get the opportunity to share your own. Just any thoughts on that?
Yeah, one very specific thought. I think you have to take this into your own hands. And the very, very good news is that you can. Because now there are issues with audience, with message reach, with various things, and they're difficult, and some of them can seem insurmountable. But what I mean by this is if you're going to be a YouTube streamer or a Twitch streamer or a Periscope streamer or a Facebook streamer, which we have done all of those and continue to do so, you should also make sure that you get a copy of this content streaming to something that's in your control and that is not as censorable. The best thing is that using the technologies that are available today, and it's not zero learning curve, some of this isn't even easy to use, but the fact is that it exists and it can be put to use. Once you get over the hump, it's not hard. You can make sure that your message is out there. And listen, this is true for something I might think is a good message or a bad message. Who am I to say, right? I think that that's an important point. We should get to express our opinion. But I don't like it at all when I see these stories of sometimes very well-known, famous people like YouTubers, and they're like, "Yeah, YouTube took my channel offline." And now usually in 2 or 3 or 5 days they get it back online and everything goes back, but they lost all that. Their content was demonetized. Their livelihood was threatened.
That's right.
And I don't understand why someone wouldn't give them a ring and say, hey, we need to talk about, and maybe it's a matter of scale when you have certain channels. But back to my answer, my point to that is really, really succinct. Make sure that the content that you create, that you've digitized, it has multiple fronts, multiple faces, so that if, for example, our Twitter Periscope goes offline right now for reasons we cannot divine, we're still live on YouTube. Or if it goes off on YouTube, we're still live on Facebook. And and then in our main website, which we host with a totally different technology provider, we can put on there, hey, we're having some trouble with stream A. Please make sure you see us over on stream B. And lastly, as you have community interaction and engagement, I just saw that a dear friend and colleague of ours subscribed to our channel while we were talking here today, Kyle, and that's amazing.
Awesome.
Hi, Vanessa. And the point is that stay connected to your audiences, answer their messages, write back to them, help them, engage with them, because this is critical. That's the thing that'll get you over the hump when you hit a speed bump in the road around a censorship-related matter or other.
Yeah, and I think a big thing here is I'd love to hear from the audience if they want to write in, if they want to leave any comments in the chat box to this, even once this is up on the channel, is what are your views of censorship? I know it's a funny question to ask because you would automatically say like, well, it's bad. Well, what parts of censorship are good? What parts are not? And I don't even know if any parts of it are. If you're thinking of free democracy, if you're thinking of freedom of speech, if you're thinking of, I think there's something interesting, which is what's the worst case scenario? I always like to think about what's the worst case scenario if you just let people say what they needed to say. especially in a social environment, although it's recorded and it's now out there, it's archived, people can go and connect to it. But we are also overwhelmed with a million different opinions, different perspectives, different content coming at us all the time.
Yeah.
If you do put your content out there, whether it's satirical, humorous, political, extreme, and again, we never advocate for hurting anybody.
Nope.
or putting out content that is going to hurt fellow people or hurt our environment. One thing about this show, one thing about Kent and myself, is that we absolutely stand behind elevating our humankind, elevating massive transformative purpose, elevating going after creating abundance for all. I do think that's the only way forward. But one of the things is, if we're censoring opinions and we're censoring perspectives, how are we going to advance? Because we can never know whether the one that we're doubling down on is actually the right way to move forward. Who gets to make that decision? Who gets to say that? And so I think the biggest thing around the digitization of more, it's interesting. It's like when things get out of control or they leapfrog too far ahead of compliance and regulatory, it almost feels like there's some control that has to be put around it and pulled back. And I wonder where the censorship is that. It's the idea that let's start to play with the idea of what is regulated, what is actually a real contract with society. Like, what is our new contract with society around the freedom just to say what's on your mind in a digital expression? We've never created that with each other. What's that contract? We say freedom of speech, but what speech? What's the content? How is that actually helping us? So censorship is such an interesting topic. I think it's one that is going to push up against transparency. I think those two are conflicting. And I think inside of, if we can solve for both of those, it's going to be a very powerful place to where I think the medium of content creation is going to go, what we're able to start doing with digitization. Any thoughts on that, Ken?
No, I think it's fantastic. It is something that will push a lot of things. It'll push a lot of buttons. But I do believe that we have to talk and we have to work through these things, and it will be uncomfortable at times. But if we can all agree to even sometimes disagree, but move the conversation forward, then we can adapt to this new world that we're living in. That's what I think. And that'd be my last thoughts on the subject today. We're coming up on time. We're pushing this much shorter, more engaging format. So we hope everybody's enjoying that. If there's any improvements or things that you'd like to see, please let us know. Kyle, we've got a new event coming up. I haven't even had a chance to tell you. I've got the dates this morning, so I'm going to show everybody really quick. So we've got Saving School Year, or Saving School, or School 2020 is the way we're thinking about it. And this is going to be a Digitized Live produced event, and it'll be an online event. Almost nobody even knows about this. I probably shouldn't even be sharing it, but I'm doing it anyway. So you can just go to this website. It's exoworld.live/school-2020. That's exoworld.live/school-2020. Here, I'll type it in the name field here, if I can. Let's see. No, I can't do that. It won't let me. So anyway, I don't know how I can show that really quickly, but maybe we'll put it in the chat or something. But the point is that we have been looking out there, and we're seeing parents everywhere just like struggle with getting their kids back. Kyle, you and I live this. You've got 4, I've got 3. It's crazy. So between us, we have a classroom, and I think that in general, I'm very excited about this event because it's a much broader mass market appeal, and hopefully we can help some folks, and maybe these topics will come up, Kyle. I don't know. So great stuff. Thank you as always.
And I've got one other thing to share.
Go. No, go.
No, I was going to one other thing, because I'm super excited to see about the event. The other thing that is didn't think to share it here, but it's probably a good idea, is that we are launching a biofeedback leadership program where we're actually experimenting and testing. The program's called Energize. It's a 6 to 8 week track of digital coaching, plus actually getting a reading on your heart rate variability. I think we touched on this in a different show, but we could maybe talk about this in a different show. But what we're doing is we're experimenting with digitizing the data and analytics, like so many people are doing with the body, how we can track our stress and our energy levels each day, and then how we can be present to leave 1 to 2 minute bite-sized tools, tips, videos each morning. So think of yourself getting up, brushing your teeth, having your coffee, taking your reading, getting some tips on how you can manage your energy for the day. And then we're doing weekly live coaching sessions, which are like walk and talks, or you can come into the live format, really depending on how you want to use that hour to be able to actually help energize people without giving or expending more energy. Because what we're noticing out there is that we're putting so much energy out and there's still exhaustion, 80% increase in stress and burnout. And so how do we start to manage that environment? So we're experimenting with something where we can start to help more people by managing their energy, being able to tap into energize more parts of their life while doing coaching and stuff. So we could probably put it in the show notes.
Yep.
And if anybody's interested, DM us and we'll send you some information about that. But
that's awesome.
Super excited about that event too, Ken.
All right, awesome. Thank you. So everybody out there, please don't forget, like, subscribe, tweet, retweet, share. It helps us tremendously. We are thoroughly enjoying the conversations we're getting into with community members, and we love it when you leave comments and we actually write back. So please do. And the otherwise, I think we're at time and we're a wrap for the day, Kyle. So as always,
awesome.
My co-host, thank you. And I think something you've said to me many times, really appreciate you and all the stuff that we're doing.
Absolutely. Such a pleasure. Always such a pleasure. See you guys next week. And next week, another action-packed show. I think we might be having a guest. So stay tuned. Stay tuned.
We will. We will do it next time. We're ready for that. We're totally ready. So signing out. So bye, everyone. Until next time.
Take care.